Day 2. 12 registered supporters. There is enormous mainstream pride in our Indigenous citizens. The 70,000 years of culture, the ability to tame this brutal land, the lateral ingenuity of the boomerang, the dreaming, the aesthetic brilliance of Indigenous dot art, the sports people and public personalities, etc. And yet, yesterday's headline in the Australian newspaper was, Aboriginal suicide crisis as 4 more girls take their lives. While the article doesn't give much indication as to reasons these girls took their own lives, given people don't commit suicide without significant trauma, we need to hypothesise. So how about a vicious intergenerational cycle of stigma and unemployment, which leads to a sense of worthlessness, lack of self-respect and lack of hope, which then leads to dispirited desperation and mental health troubles, which in turn leads to a self-perpetuating victim-perpetrator intertwined system. Hence there is escapist social dysfunction that includes all manner of substance abuse, petrol sniffing, alcohol and other drugs. In adults, it can also lead to the neglect and sometimes even the abuse of children. Ultimately, for the individual, it may result in jail and, of course, suicide. And while stigma and unemployment is also felt in other sections of Australian society, in Aboriginal society, it is felt not just individually or within families, but also communally. So what chance is there for a newborn that grows up within such an environment? Well, the 4 girls that committed suicide obviously thought there was no chance, no opportunity. So what can be done? Surely there's an interface between how Australia's Indigenous citizens are treated and how they feel and see themselves. And individually and collectively, notwithstanding any historical issues, currently aren't they locked out of mainstream Australian society? Doesn't this lockout start with being locked out of the labour market? Thus they are trapped in the welfare system, which currently directly stigmatises them, which adds to the indirect stigmatisation they receive from society per se. However, with the stigma greatest in rural towns in northern Australia, most city dwellers, i.e. most Australians, are not exposed to it. Anyway, the question is, how will the Citizens' Dividend help our Indigenous citizens? Simply put, the Citizens' Dividend will take over the role of society's safety net. This means 2 things. 1, there is no stigma attached to receiving benefits. Even the Prime Minister is entitled to it. That is, there is no means testing and no obligation apart from being a law-abiding citizen. Thus, it puts an end to adults, including Indigenous parents and elders, being treated like naughty children. And 2, since the burden of providing society's safety net is taken off business, the current minimum wage, which is $18.93 per hour, which affecting 20% of employees is far too high for full employment to ensure, can be scrapped. Thus, regarding Aboriginal children, solving the welfare stigma and unemployment issues will go a long way to breaking the cycle of hopelessness. So, will you assist in solving this problem?